Welcome back to Navigating Adulthood and IDD. Today our guest is Gabby Banzon, who works with adults with disabilities. She's a board-certified music therapist like me, so we got another music therapist today. Yay! Yeah, and you work with adults with disabilities and traumatic brain injury in a residential community. And you also have a lot of projects going on, which we'll make sure to talk about and cover and plug by the end of the episode, too.
Yeah, you've done your research.
I have. I Googled you. You have a website.
I do have a website, yes.
I was like,
do.
Perfect. Here's all my podcast
here's everything you need to know.
Not every guest I Google and has a website that can help me form my questions.
I'm a little obnoxious online, so
you have a presence.
I have a presence. I'm not obnoxious. I just have a presence.
Yeah, you're an influencer.
Well,
is that too far?
I don't know if I don't know. I'm not like click and rate and subscribe. I'm not like that.
Right. There's just content.
Yes, it's just there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, would you mind giving us a short introduction? Influencers one.
If I ever actually, like, if someone says I'm an influencer, like, if that becomes a title, someone just needs to, like, slap me upside the head, because I do not want that title. That's too much pressure. Like, that's so much responsibility.
You're like, no, I'm just online.
I'm just here. Yeah, so you described my job and things I do. But yeah, I'm Gabby, Filipino-American music therapist and creative collaborator. I'm playing around with those words. Songwriter, pronouns are she, her, hers. Currently live and work in Atlanta. Yeah, Bonnie, you're from...
I am. I don't know if I brought that up on the podcast or not. I don't even remember. Maybe.
Well, surprise, guys. Bonnie's from Georgia, but we never met in Georgia. Yeah. So I currently work in Atlanta. I was in Texas, though, for the past 5 years, studying, getting my master's, but also working. And I think that's it.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah. You have so many projects. I feel like there's a lot of things we could talk about. So we'll get into some of that for sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sweet. To start, what does your work with adults in residential homes look like?
It's constantly adapting, especially during Corona. Yeah. So by resident homes, it's a campus, and there's homes based on the level of supports that the residents need. And there's also on-site nursing homes and assisted living centers. So basically, the whole premise of this campus is providing support and care from when someone ages out of like child services and until their end of life. So I started this job during the pandemic. So I have an idea of what it is like when there aren't so many precautions and restrictions, but all I know at this campus is what I do now. So what I've gathered is typically when it's not a pandemic, the primary goals are to foster connection on campus and off campus, and also afford opportunities for and supporting autonomy.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we have performance ensembles, and like we perform in the community, and there's people coming onto campus as well, doing things with us. Like, it's just a whole mixed bag of things. I don't really know. I mean, it's good. Like, it's a community, and we're in the community, and the community comes to us as well. So it's cool. It's cool.
What kind of ensembles do you guys do?
What I have gathered is the choir is the biggest one. And then there's like smaller like groups from the bigger choir. Ensembles. I should know my terms. Smaller ensembles from the bigger choir. And I think at one point there was a band, like a rock band. My goal is to bring that back. Yeah. So yeah, I think those were the primary ensembles.
Right, and they're kind of just on hiatus right now. Yeah.
Yes. However, we are going to try to do a virtual choir in a month or two, or try to put something together. So I've done virtual choirs or ensembles before, like editing wise, but the most people that have been in it have been maybe 7 at most. So this is going to be a feat trying to rehearse and combine probably 30-ish people with COVID precautions. So a lot of scheduling, a lot of sanitizing, it's going to be very interesting. Probably going to have to be trial and error for a little bit. But this choir was a big part of a lot of people's experience in this community. And so they haven't sang together as a choir in over a year.
Right.
So to be able to bring that back in some form or fashion will probably, be meaningful in some way to them. So
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So typically it's a lot of community things is what happens on and off this campus. Right now, because of the pandemic, there is a lot of restrictions. And so they're usually able to choose what they want to be part of and choose what classes, quote unquote, or groups they want to be part of. But now they're kind of limited to sticking with their houses. So like they live with people and then they have to go to sessions with people, or they live with people and they have to come to our program center. And so because they're together all the time, it comes with the same bag as if you're living with anyone living with anyone. Like
Right.
You care for each other, but there's arguments, you get sick of each other, you get angry because you're just tired of being in the same place forever. And while we have a big campus and people can walk around and stuff like that, it's just difficult. So it's what I do now has kind of turned into how do I maintain this community and bring something else where they can focus their energies or gain new coping skills to deal with the stress of being in a pandemic. So that's a mixture of doing traditional sessions. So, like groups where you're singing, you're creating music games, watching YouTube music videos and talking about it, or playing with apps. And then for individual sessions, creating things, making music, improvising, adaptive lessons. And one thing that I've brought in is more long-term projects. So that's like making campus-wide music videos or group videos with the smaller classes. Also doing what we call our radio station, which is basically a podcast. And we could do that in small form where we just rip songs off of YouTube that they like and talk about it and just share it within their group. Or we do it larger where we get to work with marketing and actually share it, with their loved ones and with the broader community online. So it's a mixture of traditional, I hate the word traditional, but what you're learning in school, just sessions, and then like long-term projects and production type things.
That's awesome. And you touched on like the community building aspect of kind of your goals for the adults, and I think it's like important to realize too, like it's like a year now, like the pandemic, so we got this trauma anniversary that
man,
not only we have to kind of process through, but now it's kind of like making that space for our clients who have been going through this for a year with us, and and kind of processing that as we keep going, and there's no definite end, which is hard for a lot of the people we work with. It's hard for me too.
Oh yeah. And even for those that have gotten the vaccines or part of the vaccines, it's still, that doesn't mean we're over this yet. So that's also difficult to process for anybody. Yeah, there's just a lot of emotions that come with that, not being able to see family or friends, or even just like across campus, like people that used to be in choir together aren't seeing each other because they're grouped by their houses and stuff. Right. So yeah, we've actually been doing during holidays or just special events. I've started, I guess, co-creating or collaborating with a rec therapist and some other people on staff to have Zoom parties where we'll incorporate music and different games, and each of the houses or facilities get to Zoom in, and it's like they're at a big party together. Or we try to. So I'll like share my Spotify dance playlist or something, and we'll have like a dance competition or something. So yeah.
Right, like it's not clinical, it's not, but like it's just as important to build that community with each other and to just be like, yeah, just dance like on the screen together. Because finding the connections that we can do during this time, that's so cool. You can like do that co-treatment and collaboration.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We actually did this one other this other outdoors kind of co-treatment thing during the holidays. We made this huge rolling Grinch and we called it the COVID Grinch instead of Mr. Grinch and made flower snowballs. And it's outdoors, and so like we just went house by house and sanitized everything, but they got to like write on the snowball or on a piece of paper on the snowball what the COVID Grinch took away from them.
Oh, wow.
And then threw it. So and then I would put it into a song, basically, like rewrite Mr. Grinch.
Oh,
it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a good idea. It's easy, it's fun. It's cathartic.
Yes, it's so cathartic. I did it a couple of times. And the staff did. The staff was like, one person was like, "You took away my vacation." Yeah. So
it's a good like, oh, I almost don't want to make a list because it's getting longer.
Right.
Yeah, but what a cool way to have that processing for the people you work with. I feel like you've already given so many like awesome, cool ideas that just other people aren't doing. I feel like you're obviously really comfortable with technology. Would you say COVID increased your technology use, or has it always just been there, and so this has been kind of a strength?
So my situation is that I work on campus. So most of the time I see the people that I'm working with. There was maybe a month or two where I was fully virtual, and that was during the holidays because people were going home and there's just a lot of precautions. So I honestly haven't had to use as much technology as a lot of my colleagues have. Right. Technology in the sense of like telehealth. However, I do think my background in technology made it easier for me to adapt things. Like I wasn't having to all of a sudden learn how to use Soundtrap. It's like I already knew how to use a DAW, digital audio workstation, and that's what Soundtrap is. It's just cloud-based. But what I do also think where I currently work, I am fortunate to have a lot of freedom in things I can try technology-wise. Like we also have like a smart board. And so, they can go, if I'm using Chrome Music Lab or something, they can literally touch the board and press the different colors. And that's more sensory than, pressing a button on a computer. Whereas before, I've worked in acute psych settings where you can basically bring in no technology. And then I've also worked in other settings where, I didn't really need to bring in any technology as far as like computers and stuff. Like live sound, sure, but not actual digital technology. So I don't know if that answered anything. Yeah. So I think I had a decent knowledge base for the pandemic, but I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at telehealth just because I don't have to do it every day.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think you still incorporate like so many. I think, some music therapists wouldn't think about doing like a podcast, with their clients, which is such a cool idea.
Yeah, I wasn't the first one to come up with it. I'm just like, I'm present. So I talk about it and people see it. So yeah, I actually presented on that with some of the clinical populations hosts and with Chris Millett from Make More Music at our Southeast Regional Conference yesterday. So that was fun.
So hopefully there'll be more like client podcasts.
Hope so. Even though it's not directly a musical experience, it is using a lot of music skills, like recording, rehearsing, producing, adding things. Like you have to be creative to do it. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of times music therapy gets lost in kind of the medical model, but we're like a creative arts therapy. Yeah. And so when you can when I see like ideas like this that are like, oh, that's so creative and what a creative process to do with our clients, I'm like, I think that's exactly what we should be working on.
Yeah. And for those, sometimes there's like an issue, actually a lot of times, there's always an issue of like HIPAA and confidentiality and stuff, but I mean, it just depends on your facility, who you're working with, what you're sharing, where it lives. So I've done really private ones where we make one and we literally burn it to a CD and then they have that CD. And then we've had public ones where we share like a small snippet of it, put a video and captions to it, and share it on social media. So it's possible to do both on a larger sense and also a very small sense.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about this a little bit off the podcast before. Could you explain how you've used and what is Cuckoo Kangaroo? I omitted this question from the list.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I actually found out about Cuckoo Kangaroo through a colleague, James Maxon. He's also on the Tech Nug. And I think he posted it because his son loves listening to it. So they just had this wacky song. I think it was about poop. I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I saw it and I was like, what am I watching right now? But it was so catchy. So that kind of was in my memory bank like a while back. And then I was looking for something, just some sort of video for people to get moving. Like I have this one group that just loves moving around, and I wanted to bring something new in that I didn't have to teach because I'm a horrible dancer. Like, not because I don't want to, I'm just not good at it. And so, but I also wanted to find something that wasn't infantilizing.
Right.
I just didn't want a super kiddie video because I'm not working with kids, and I was just searching around on YouTube and I came across Cuckoo Kangaroo and I was like, wait, this is that thing. And I was watching the rest of the videos. They were actually really good. Like, they were engaging. They were easy to follow along to. They had a broad range of topics. They were funny. And I was just like floored. So I brought it in to, I think I tested it out with a couple of different groups I was running just to see if they'd like it. And there was one group who didn't want to dance at all. They just wanted to listen and like just see how ridiculous and crazy the songs could get. So their favorite was the I Eat Pizza Every Day song. And then there was another group that liked some of the dance, but not all of them, but really liked the one about puppies. And that spurred a whole conversation about puppies. And I had no idea that all of them have dogs. So it was great, like I got to know them better. So yeah, some people like them, some people didn't, but everyone thought it was funny. And I think, I try to bring in a lot of humor into sessions, especially now, not as a way to, compromise the situation that we're in. And it's just a way to build rapport.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have that Panera album that you sent me.
Oh my gosh. Yes. They have a whole album about Panera.
All songs about Panera.
It is so great. It's so creative. Now I'm like, I should just we should just make a bunch of restaurant albums. Yes. Make one about, I don't know, what's another good restaurant?
That would be so fun to do with a client.
Yeah. Make one about Chipotle.
There you go. So what's your favorite place to eat? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
You can take that idea. Do it.
Sweet.
Go do it. Yes.
Yes.
Cuckoo Kangaroo.
Awesome. I was interested in their response, so that's cool hearing that kind of mix and like what you focused on with it, not just like we're gonna move, but like presenting it as like this is ridiculous, like we're all adults here.
I know. I was just being real about it. I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna like it. That's another cool thing about working in long term and like not acute, which is I've been working in acute for a while. Or like before this job, I was acute for a bit, and so you get to try things. And if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul, because you're going to see them again really soon. But also no harm, no foul, because you've already built that rapport. So they can be like, Gabby, that really sucked. So let's do something else. And you can do that.
Yeah, and you built that rapport. And so if like rupture happens, like because they don't like something, it sounds like it's so easy to repair it with them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they can be open, and then you just be like, yeah, that was dumb, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about a cuckoo kangaroo. Those guys have gold fanny packs and, you know.
I could definitely see me presenting that to somebody and like me cracking up and then being like, and me being like, I'm so sorry. I thought it was so funny.
I want to get cuckoo kangaroo onto clinical populations now, though. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get them on there.
Yes. Oh, that'd be awesome.
I know.
That's a great segue for my next question. You have a lot of projects going on, and you mentioned Technook and clinical populations, which listeners may or may not know, just depending. If there are a lot of music therapists, they're probably familiar. But if not, they might not know still, too. So, what kind of projects do you want to dive into and kind of share? And then, like, we can try to, if any of that technology connects back to your work, we could talk about that, though. We've talked about that with the podcasting a bit.
I do too many projects for my own good. But I was thinking about it the other day, and even in school, I always liked projects way more than I liked tests. So yeah, I don't know. So one of my projects is clinical populations, which I co-founded with my colleague Allison Rogers. Since then has grown to include quite a few music therapy clinicians and researchers and educators, and has collaborated with a bunch of other podcasts like this one right here. And basically we take artists' songs and listen to them and discuss them and relate it back to clinical practice and theory and research. So that's been a lot of fun, and it's cool to see how we've grown since starting it and how kind of the music therapy podcast community has grown as well. It's been really great to see that. Yeah.
It's such a good resource. I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. It just really gets you thinking about, like, I feel like how to use any song, like, for a clinical application. And I find you guys just have really creative ways to think about interventions. So it's a great resource for any professional, any music therapist. So we'll definitely link that below. And that was my Gateway podcast.
Gateway podcast. It sounds like...
I started clinical populations and I never stopped. And now I have my own podcast and I've been on many podcasts.
Do we have a podcast intervention or something? Well, thank you. I don't know how to respond to us being your Gateway podcast.
I just hadn't really listened to any podcast before that one, and I was like hooked after that first episode. So,
wow.
And then since then, it's like I listened to too many podcasts
now. Well, glad we could introduce you to the world of podcasts. Yeah, I think it was just a way for Allison and I. We were both songwriters as well, and so a way for Allison and I to just combine two of our passions, songwriting and music therapy, and also just have discussions outside of what you're typically learning in class. Right. It's not just learning repertoire, it's like exploring repertoire and what are elements or themes within this song that could have implications, and just exploring that. Yeah. The next project you wanted me to touch on was the Technook. That's a big one. It's a group. It's a big group of people. It is a collaborative technology resource for music therapy, all online. And the premise of it is that it's a website where you can find different approaches of technology that can be used in and for music therapy. And within each of these approaches, we also have PDF guides and video tutorials that you can watch and look through and save. And then there's also, through that, if you find something that you find really beneficial or have any questions about or want just more support in that area, you can also connect with us or ask for a lesson from us. Yeah, that's what the Technook is.
I've had the honor to make some videos for Technook, and
yes,
like, especially if you're in music therapy, don't sleep on this resource because it's easy to watch tutorials on a ton of information. And then if you're not a music therapist, it's worth checking out too. Like if you do telehealth, if you're interested in podcasting, there's free resources there to teach you how to use the technology. It's really could be beneficial for any professional working with adults with disabilities, or really anybody wanting to learn more about technology, which is super exciting that this resource is out there.
Yeah. Part of the reasoning behind creating it was technology is constantly adapting, especially now. And maybe it's not a, it's adapting now, but it's more so like it's not just adapting, but it's more people are aware of it and what it can do and wanting to know what it can do. Or if not wanting, being forced to know what it can do.
Yes, being
So
literally forced.
yeah. So it's all, and it's going to continue. Technology is going to continue to do so. So there are, you know, published resources already on how to use technology, but by the time you write something, publish something, there's something new that's been created. So by making it a website, ideally it's going to be updated and more stuff is going to be added to it as time goes on. And like also we'll be able to find other music therapists or clinicians or whoever else that know how to do things that we don't know how to do. Like there's going to be a point where the people that are on it now aren't going to have the bandwidth to learn another thing and teach on it, you know? So yeah, that's what it is.
It's super cool. Please check it out. I'm putting it in the show notes. Please check it out.
Yeah.
And I know it's very student centered too. Wanting to have that information for music therapy students to learn. Because you might have a music technology class. I feel like UGA added one after like I graduated, like it was going to start the next year. But so I don't know what's in it if that is the case. But even then, like, is it technology that applies to therapy? Probably,
exactly.
But like how, you know?
How? Yeah. It's like a because you can go on YouTube and find out how to use GarageBand, right? But with this, we're gearing it towards like clinical practice, so that definitely helps. Yeah, we didn't have a music technology class specifically for music therapy, but I did the music technology minor. So that's how that was my formal introduction to music technology. But yeah, I mean, another reason for creating a technic was I just wanted to learn from these people. Yeah, the DJ cranny. So Joe Bailey made a couple of videos on how to DJ and stuff. And I mean, I don't have like a console or anything, but he told me about a couple of apps. And I actually brought it, I tried playing around with them and brought it in for the very first time in a session earlier this week, actually. It's a DJ app called UDJ. And you can search songs to go on this side, like this turntable. And then you can search another song to go on this turntable. And yeah, so basically in our group, we chose 2 songs that we wanted to have a dance party to. And then they got to learn how to move I don't know what, it's a fader type thing to go from one song to the next. And they also got to play around with just the scratching.
Right.
And it was just so much fun. I didn't know if they were going to like it, but they loved it. And they were like, wicka, wicka. I mean, obviously, we also talked about, you know, the history of DJing and stuff like that in the background. But yeah, so I would have never tried that if I hadn't watched that video on DJing.
Right. So it just like expands our toolbox of what we can bring in sessions, how we can connect and make music experiences. And like you said, technology is just going to keep kind of building and new things come out. So just kind of new horizons of experiences.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little scary. Not a little. It's a lot. It's a lot scary with how many things it's a huge world of technology and it's only get bigger. So it can be super intimidating, but you know, just trying one thing and exploring it. I mean, you start there and keep on going. Yeah.
Yeah. And the videos on TechNook are pretty short, kind of like not overwhelm. Here's what you need to know, like to start. Here's a ton of resources in the PDF. Just to get people started to try new things.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share? You have a songwriting book, right?
Yes, I do. So I have a songwriting journal called Space. And basically, it's a bunch of prompts with chords and song forms. in space to journal and draft and write. So in the beginning, it kind of gives you a rundown of, your basic song forms and gets a little bit more complex. Your basic chord progressions gets a little bit more complex. And then it takes you through a series of prompts that you journal or log about, and then draft a song using these song forms or these chord progressions. And as the journal progresses, the prompts get less and less. So it's kind of like starting you off really structured and then getting a little bit more free to the point where you're writing on your own. So it technically is a book because it has like an ISBN number and stuff, but it has a lot of blank pages on it. Yeah. It's like a workbook, and it's very small. So it's, something you could just carry in your hand, and tried to make it cost affordable. So it's $15.
That's not bad.
You can get it. Yeah. So you can get it at Sarson Publishing or on Amazon, depending on where you want to purchase it. And yeah, it was just, again, a combination of my passion for writing, and then also the field of music therapy and wanting to support people in their journey. I mean, that's how I learned how to write. I just journaled and then eventually turned those into songs. So it was, yeah. And so it was actually this book originally was my professional project for my graduate degree.
Oh, awesome.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like I was like, I'm gonna make a book. It was just it was part of my program. So I created it, and then it turned into an actual published thing.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll definitely make sure that's in the show notes. Would you say you write more for like clinical applications or more for yourself, or is it a mix?
I would say it's a mix, kind of shifts depending on what's happening in my life. I will say when I write personally, it takes a lot more out of me, especially if I produce it too. So I kind of get in this like creative slump where if I've produced something like a big project, I personally, I just don't write for another 2 years or something. But I'm still, I'm still supporting clients in their writing.
Right.
So I think I really have to get into, when I'm working with clients on songwriting, I mean, it makes it a little bit more challenging because I have to figure out, for some clients, what's the best way I can break this down for it to be a meaningful experience, but also, a successful one. What elements can I bring in? What do I need to teach? Like what is the teaching aspect? And then what is like, the therapeutic aspect? So trying to kind of balance all of that.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I do both.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely more like clinical heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if one day that evolves into personal songs. I could definitely see how it's like that would be like a lot for me emotionally to like write something where I'm like, oh, wait, this is like about me. Like this is personal.
But I mean, you don't have to release it. That's like you don't.
That's true.
Yeah, you can just write. That's part of the reason why I created the journal. Is like it's called space because it's space for you to write in. So you can share that space if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And I feel like the more we do the musical things or experiences that we're bringing to session, like it's only going to benefit because of your experience when you're bringing it into the therapeutic space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
where we can, it's like the idea of we should get our own therapy to like make sure we we experience like both sides of it. Sometimes it's kind of a similar concept to that, where it's like making music for ourselves will kind of relate more to how does the client make music for themselves as we facilitate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, now I gotta go write a song about Queenie or something.
Do it. No, write a song about your favorite restaurant, and then write a song about every single food item.
You said Chipotle, and you might be right on. So I'm not sponsored.
You could write a song about the burritos and the bowls and the salads and
like waiting. How do you order it? Waiting in line at Chipotle.
And the different, guac is always extra. You can write a whole song about how guac is always extra.
Do like the dancing and everything with it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would also love to do like do a dance video, like have Cuckoo Kangaroo in the background and like throw it up on a green screen and like have people dance along with them. It'd be so much fun.
Yes.
It'd be so great.
It's a great idea. Yes.
Green screen's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely something I played with like after like with the pandemic and like playing with, and it's a lot of fun. I saw like a music therapist just do something where they had like a pocket in the green screen, and it like blew my mind because you can like pull things out of like a barn, like animals, and I was like, what? You just put a pocket in the green screen.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
It opens
That
up
is
so
such a
many
good
ideas.
idea.
I
Oh
know.
my gosh.
I haven't been able to try that yet, but their example is like animals coming out of a farm barn. And I was just like, there's so many things. Like, you're just like pulling things out of the wall.
You could come out of the wall.
I could be in the pocket. I could wear green and be a floating head.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I tested out my green screen when we first bought it at the facility, and I wrapped it around me and pretended that I had an invisible cloak, and I was testing it out.
That's awesome.
I was riding my scooter too, so it looked real smooth. It was great.
Yes.
Just, you can be as creative as you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Gabby, it's been so awesome talking to you. Before we kind of wrap up, is there anything else you want to share with us? Any resources, projects?
I do want to share, I just want to give a shout out actually to the Music Therapy Podcast Collective. Yeah, it's a great resource for music therapists looking to get CMTEs. If you already listen to podcasts, the Music Therapy Podcast Collective, MTPC for short, is a space where you can listen to podcasts and they're bundled up, and the podcasts come with some sort of experience or assignment to go along with it. And you listen and you do it, and then you submit it, and then you get you get CMTE credits, which is great for people who are already listening to podcasts. Yeah. So it's just started, and there's only a few podcasts on there, but be on the lookout. It is probably going to grow, and there's going to be more podcasts on it. So
Content.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a great resource.
It's a great resource.
Yeah.
There's and like you said, like music therapy podcasts have really grown, like since you started clinical populations even. And so there's so much out there. There's so much to learn. And yeah, they're bundling it together so you can get those continuing ed credits, which is just awesome.
And they're affordable. Oh, gosh, it is so affordable. That's key.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely put them in the show notes too.
Yes, give them a shout out. Yeah, so that's one resource I wanted to share. Yeah, if you want to keep up with whatever projects or random things I do, Bonnie mentioned that I have a website. GabbyBanzon.com, but I'm present on social media, so you can find me on most social medias at Gab to the Zilla. But you can also find my projects like clinical populations and Technic all on social media as well.
I will go back, and I think we'll have a nice, like, awesome long, like, resource list for this episode, which is that's like my favorite part. If anything, like, I hope people are listening, but it's like, please just go look at the show notes, because the guests share some really cool resources. So this is one episode where you have to check out the resource list after this.
Yeah. I also want to give everyone a challenge to write a song about their favorite restaurant. That's my challenge.
Yes. Tag at Navigating Adulthood and IDD your restaurant song, and we'll share it on social media.
Yeah. If you want inspiration, listen to the Panera. I don't even know if it's called Panera. Is that the name of the album?
I feel like they do say Panera at some point. I don't know if it's the name of the album, but they do at least name drop it.
They do name drop Panera. I don't know. They have one about Uncrustables. Oh my gosh.
There's so many. It's so good.
Oh, it's called Fast Casual. Fast Casual is the name of the album. It's by Cuckoo Kangaroo. And you can actually see, like, the album cover is basically a picture of Panera.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Art has peaked.
Yes. Well, it's gonna continually. Someone's gonna make an album that is even better than this Panera album. So we can make a collective music therapy album
Of all our favorite food.
of all our There's probably already, we probably have enough songs about this in the music therapy world.
This is true.
It probably exists already. We just have to find
We just have
everybody.
to make it. Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on today, Gabby. I can't wait to share this episode with everybody.
Yes, I am very grateful that you had me on. Thank you for all the work that you do on this podcast and sharing resources for navigating adulthood and IDD. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I hope that you sincerely enjoyed that conversation I had with Gabby as much as I did. Listening back and editing, the thing that was most apparent is there's so much laughter and joy, just like in this interview. Gabby was really easy to talk to, and it was so cool learning about what she's up to clinically and all her other projects as well too, and just kind of the innovation she brings to her work. And I feel like Gabby was a little humble with it, but I really do want to emphasize, I feel like Gabby really motivates me to do new, innovative, creative things in sessions. And I loved how she leaned into technology during the pandemic, even though, you know, she clarified she hasn't really been doing telehealth. She still has leaned into technology in this time where technology kind of is in the rise because it became a necessity in some cases for it to be utilized more. And just the ideas of virtual choirs, podcasts on campuses, music videos, Zoom parties, doing Cuckoo Kangaroo, and just being real with the adults that she's working with and seeing if it's something they like and having a discussion about it and really respecting preferences, even if it's just kind of like, oh, we like this for humor, maybe more than the dancing. And so I find all her ideas so exciting, and I know that accessibility, technology accessibility, and HIPAA can maybe prohibit some of these creative ideas depending on your work situation, but I feel like Gabby's a great example of how there are so many options on how to use technology in sessions, and the technology is there and it's only growing, and at the end of the day it just continues to build our toolboxes to provide more creative experiences for our clients, different musical experiences for our clients if you're a music therapist. It really just brings perhaps new opportunities to different people that maybe they wouldn't have had before when we can take that first step, like Gabby said. The real, what I loved about her explaining kind of her success with this is she just tried things, you know, and that's how you start utilizing any of these new kind of technologies, is to just start and just try, and then that can be part of the process with our clients and with the adults that we work with. And I loved also her emphasis of goals on autonomy and community, always, but especially during a pandemic, and how music really brings meaning to the community that she's with, and really with all our communities, and how that kind of meaning and community can become the goal of our services, and also coping skills during this time, and just kind of that maintenance of community during the difficulties of a pandemic. I really thought that that was an important discussion as well, and how, you know, goals changed during this time for a lot of our clients, and how can we help facilitate what they need now, and maybe not necessarily what the kind of traditional kind of goals, because we are still in a pandemic and it is still a big deal. And I just loved her focus on community with the adults, and I really think she's doing an awesome job. So many cool projects. Please check out the show notes. Her website will be there, along with so many awesome resources that she's shared, including Chrome Music Lab, Technook, Soundtrap, her podcast Clinical Populations, Cuckoo Kangaroo, Make More Music, MTPC, her songwriting book. I'll make sure those are all in the show notes. I think they're so important. Just important resources for you to get started if you want to try bringing in different new ideas of technology into sessions that are age appropriate and fun, and just brings a whole new enriching experience to our clients, especially in a time where there is so much technology and sometimes our clients are more savvy with technology than we are. We can kind of meet them in their interests, as there are so many different technological avenues. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. Gabby's doing so many cool things, and I'm just so thankful that she came on with us. So, wrap up, we're going to do our debrief of the monthly music therapy session plan. So, this month we had a St. Patrick's Day themed session plan that I was very excited to do online with a great day program. So, the hello, I put Let's Make Some Music, Let's Be Together by me, Movement, Molly on the Shore by Granger, Drumming, a new song by me that you can find on my YouTube channel, Shamrock Smash, Relaxation, When Irish Eyes Were Smiling, and Goodbye is Na Na, Hey Hey, Kiss Him Goodbye by Steam. If you'd like a more detailed implementation plan of this plan and a monthly plan every month, you can consider becoming a patron on patreon.com/navigating adulthood and IDD. Not only do I make a monthly music therapy session plan, but also it is a community for providers, for disability providers, for adults with disabilities, and we meet once a month on Zoom. Our next meeting will actually be in April at some time. So if you want to join in April and kind of check it out, see if it's a good fit, it's $5 a month. You get a monthly music therapy session plan with detailed implementation and some extra visuals and resources, as well as access to all the previous plans, which is over 12 at this point because we're coming up on the year on Navigating Adulthood and IDD. And you also get access to our Facebook community where you can feel free to ask questions and with the other professionals as well too. And in our monthly meetings, we do peer supervision as well as I go over the session plans. And if you're not a music therapist, you're still totally welcome. We welcome other providers so that we can workshop together in peer supervision of how to have our best services for adults with disabilities. And as music therapists, we'd be happy to help you understanding your scope and how to use music in sessions because it is so powerful and so fun. I would love these ideas to be accessible to you too. So if you want to become a Patreon, go to patreon.com/navigating adulthood and IDD. Other ways to support the podcast include sharing with a friend, continuing to listen, and rating us on iTunes. Thank you so much again for tuning in this week. I've started to see more on social media, just people saying they listen, and I really appreciate it, and it makes me smile, and I hope that this is a good resource out there for those listening. And you can always email me, bonnie@rhythmicrootsmusictherapy.org, if there's ever something else you're kind of looking for resource-wise or an interview you're kind of interested in. Please let me know. I would love to help you out and to provide as many resources as possible to this lovely community. So yeah, that's our episode today. Be on the lookout for April. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and I have 2 episodes planned for April because usually I post monthly. I don't know if I am going to bump up to bi-weekly yet, but at least for April and to kind of celebrate, there'll be 2 episodes, so be on the lookout for that. And until then, have a great day, and I will catch you next time. One announcement I wanted to make before the end of the episode is that it's been 1 year of Navigating Adulthood and IDD. Yay! On March 19th, I published my little teaser episode, and at the end of April, episode 1 with my sister Sarah Haupt came out. So it's been almost a year of Navigating Adulthood and IDD, and I'm just so grateful of all the amazing people that I've been able to have conversations with and share their knowledge and share the resources that they've had to share with you all. And I'm just so excited to celebrate 1 year of podcasting, which is just kind of crazy. This podcast thing's been going on for a year. So to celebrate, in April, launching April 1st, so a couple of days after this episode comes out, I am creating a video that will go over different technology you can use in sessions with adults with IDD, specifically for music therapy, but if you're another kind of therapist, it's definitely not limited to music therapy, and it's not necessarily telehealth. I'll probably touch on telehealth, but I'd love to go deeper in some of the resources shared in this episode, as well as some other technology options that you can use in sessions with your adults with disabilities. So I'm creating this video on, if you're a patron on patreon.com/navigating adulthood and IDD, you're good. You're gonna get this video. Thank you so much for supporting and being a part of the community. And if you're interested in this video, it will be available for for 3 weeks starting April 1st to everybody who becomes a patron on patreon.com. It's $5 a month, so this is a $5 video, and then as a patron you also get access to all the other benefits that I mentioned before as well too. Access to all the music therapy session plans, access to our community, invitation to our Zoom call, which will be at the end of April, to welcome new patrons, to build our community, and to celebrate 1 year of navigating adulthood and IDD. So if you are interested in this video, again, it's $5, and you also get access to everything else. You could try out Patreon. It's a monthly subscription that starts on the 1st of each month, and through the website you can always cancel it before the next first of the month when it processes automatically. Totally up to you. You can do that at any point if you just want to check out to see if it's a great fit for you, or if you can only support or be a part of the community for a certain amount of time. You're definitely not locked in for a long amount of time. So it's however long you want to support the podcast, whatever works with you. Like, totally no pressure there. For me, I'm just so grateful for everyone in the community and for this podcast, for 1 year of it. So I want to create this resource for my supporters, for my community, and if you'd like to join us, you can be a part of this celebration as well too. So that is my 1 year announcement. Stay on the lookout for the launch. This podcast is by Rhythmic Roots Music Services, LLC, with content and music produced by Bonnie Haupt. Thanks for listening.